My daughter forgot to hang up after our phone call. That mistake changed everything. I heard her talking to my son-in-law, and the words that came next made my heart stop. She believes you. The meds are working. Soon she won't even remember her own name. What I did next would shock them both and save everything I worked for. If you're watching this, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments what country you're from. My name is Ruth Williams, and I'm 68 years old. I built my flower shop business from nothing, starting with just $10 and a dream when I was 25. Now I own 5 flower shops across town, plus a beautiful house my late husband George and I bought 30 years ago. George passed away 2 years ago from cancer, and since then I've been living alone. Well, I thought I was alone. My daughter Lisa and her husband Tom had other plans for me. You see, when you get older, people start treating you differently. They think you can't remember things. They think you need help with everything. Sometimes I do forget where I put my glasses. Sometimes I need help opening tight jars. But forgetting where you put your keys doesn't mean you're stupid. Just means you're human. Lisa started visiting me more often after George died. First, I was so happy. My daughter was finally spending time with me again. She brought me groceries, helped clean the house, and even brought me new pills from the pharmacy. "Mom, the doctor says these will help with your memory," she told me with a sweet smile. The pills made me feel sleepy and confused. But Lisa said that was normal. Tom, my son-in-law, started helping with my business papers. He said the paperwork was too hard for someone my age. "Ruth, let me handle the boring stuff," he would say. "You just relax and enjoy your retirement." But I wasn't ready to retire. My flower shops were my life's work. I loved talking to customers, making beautiful bouquets, and seeing people smile when they got flowers. Tom convinced me to sign papers that he said would make things easier. I trusted him because he was family. Big mistake. Lisa brought me a new doctor too. Dr. Peterson had been my doctor for 15 years, but Lisa said he was too old-fashioned. "Mom, Dr. Rodriguez is much better with elderly patients," she explained. Dr. Rodriguez was young and seemed nice, but he barely looked at me during appointments. He just asked Lisa questions about my health and wrote down whatever she said. Felt strange, but I thought maybe this was how doctors work now. The new pills made everything fuzzy. Simple things became hard. I would start making tea and forget I was making tea. I would begin telling stories and lose track of what I was saying. Lisa and Tom acted very concerned about these problems. "Mom, you're getting worse," Lisa would say sadly. "Maybe we need to think about getting you more help." More help meant more pills. More pills meant more confusion. It was like being stuck in thick fog that never cleared up. But here's something they didn't know about me. I'm not as helpless as I look. When George was sick, I had to be strong for both of us. I learned to pay attention to details. I learned to notice when people weren't telling the truth. And I learned to keep secrets when I needed to. I started pretending to take my pills but hiding them instead. Some days I would flush them down the toilet. Other days I would wrap them in tissues and throw them away. When I stopped taking the pills, my mind started getting clearer. That's when I realized something was very wrong. Lisa and Tom were spending a lot of time in my house, going through my papers, making phone calls about my business. They thought I was too confused to notice, but I was watching everything. I started keeping a diary hidden in my bedroom. I wrote down everything they did, everything they said, and all the strange things that were happening. One afternoon, Lisa called me while she was out shopping with Tom. We talked about the weather and my doctor appointment next week. Normal grandmother and daughter talk. When we finished talking, I heard her say goodbye and thought she hung up. But the phone didn't make the clicking sound it usually makes. I was about to hang up myself when I heard Lisa's voice again. She was talking to Tom, and they thought I couldn't hear them. "The old lady is getting worse every day," Lisa said with a laugh. Not the caring laugh of a worried daughter. Mean laugh. Tom replied, "Good. The pills are working perfectly. Dr. Rodriguez says we can increase the dose next month." My blood turned cold as ice. These were not the voices of people who loved me. These were the voices of strangers planning something terrible. "How much longer do you think?" Lisa asked. "Maybe 2 more months," Tom answered. Then we can have her declared mentally unfit and take control of everything. The nursing home is ready to take her after Christmas. A nursing home. They were planning to put me in a nursing home and take my business, my house, everything I had worked for my whole life. Perfect, Lisa said. Once she's locked up in that place, we can sell the flower shops and the house. No more money problems for us. Money problems. So that's what this was about. They needed money and decided to steal mine. Tom had been gambling again, something I didn't know about. Lisa had been lying to me about everything. The loving daughter act was just that. An act. She signed all the papers already, Tom continued. The lawyers have everything ready. Once she's in the home, we become her legal guardians and control all her money. I felt sick to my stomach. My own daughter was plotting against me with her husband. They were poisoning me with fake medicine to make me seem crazy. They were stealing my life's work right from under my nose. But they made one big mistake. They thought I was already too confused to fight back. They were wrong. Very wrong. I quietly hung up the phone and sat in my kitchen, thinking hard about what to do next. I couldn't call the police. Lisa and Tom had been telling everyone that I was losing my mind. Who would believe a confused old lady over her caring family? I needed proof. Real proof that would show everyone what they were doing to me. That night, I pretended to take my evening pills as usual. Lisa watched me swallow them with water, then smiled and patted my hand. Good night, Mom. Sweet dreams. Sweet dreams while you poison me, I thought. But I smiled back and acted sleepy. The next morning I called my old friend Betty, who used to work at the bank with me 40 years ago. Betty was sharp as a tack and never trusted anyone easily. Ruth, you sound different, she said when I called. More like your old self. What's going on? I told Betty everything. The pills, the confusion, Lisa and Tom's plan, everything I had overheard. Betty listened without interrupting, which I appreciated. Ruth, this is serious, Betty said when I finished. This is elder abuse. But we need to be very careful. If they find out you know what they're doing, they might panic and do something worse. Worse than stealing my life and locking me away. I couldn't imagine what could be worse. What should I do? Yes. First, stop taking those pills completely, Betty said. Second, we need to gather evidence. And third, you might need to disappear for a while. Disappear. The word scared me and excited me at the same time. Betty had a plan. Her nephew Jack was a private investigator who specialized in cases like mine. Jack could help gather evidence while I stayed safe somewhere else. But where would I go? Yes. My cabin up north, Betty said. It's been empty since my husband died. Perfect place to hide while we figure this out. That night, I started planning my escape like a spy in a movie. I gathered important papers, some clothes, and the little bit of cash I kept hidden in my jewelry box. George had always told me to keep emergency money somewhere safe. You never know when you might need to leave quickly, he used to say. I thought he was being silly back then. Now I understood he was being smart. I had to be very careful. Lisa and Tom were watching me all the time now. They thought they were being sneaky, but I noticed everything. Tom would go through my mail when he thought I wasn't looking. Lisa would ask me lots of questions about my daily routine. They were making sure I wasn't doing anything that might interfere with their plan. The hardest part was acting confused and helpless when I felt clearer than I had in months. 3 days later, the perfect opportunity came. Lisa and Tom went to see a lawyer about some paperwork. They told me they would be gone for 2 hours. Don't answer the door while we're gone, Mom, Lisa said sweetly. And take your afternoon pills on time. I waited until their car disappeared down the street. Then I moved faster than I had moved in months. I grabbed my small suitcase, my important papers, and my emergency money. Betty was waiting for me at the corner in her old blue car. Ready for an adventure? She asked with a wink. I looked back at my house one last time. The house where I had lived happily with George for 30 years. The house my daughter was planning to steal from me. I'm ready, I said, and we drove away. Betty's cabin was perfect for hiding. It was small but comfortable, surrounded by tall trees and far from any neighbors. Jack, Betty's nephew, met us there that evening. He was a serious young man with kind eyes. "Mrs. Williams, I've already started investigating your case," he said. "What your daughter and son-in-law are doing is called elder abuse and fraud. It's very serious." Jack explained that he would need to gather evidence carefully. He would record conversations, collect documents, and build a case that would hold up in court. "How long will this take?" I asked. "About a week," Jack replied. "Maybe less if they panic and make mistakes." They did panic. According to Jack's reports, Lisa and Tom came home to find me gone. No note, no explanation, just an empty house. Lisa called the police immediately, crying about her poor confused mother who had wandered off and might be lost or hurt. The police took the report seriously. They put out a missing person alert with my description. Lisa and Tom played the part of worried family members perfectly. They gave interviews to local news stations, begging for help finding their beloved mother. But Jack was recording everything. He had hidden cameras and microphones in my house before we left. What those devices captured was amazing. Without me there to fool, Lisa and Tom's true personalities came out. Where could the old bat have gone? Tom yelled at Lisa the first night. "She's too confused to plan anything like this." "Maybe someone helped her," Lisa replied. "But who?" "We isolated her from all her friends." Isolated. That's exactly what they had done. They had slowly separated me from everyone who cared about me, making me dependent only on them. The recordings got even better. On the second day, Lisa and Tom started arguing about money. "The bank is asking questions about the account transfers," Tom said. "They want to speak to Ruth directly." "Tell them she's too sick to come in," Lisa replied. "We have power of attorney." But they didn't have real power of attorney. The papers I had signed were fake, created by a crooked lawyer who worked with people like Tom. Jack discovered that Tom owed gambling debts to some very dangerous people. People who don't accept excuses or late payments. Tom needed my money to save his own life. Lisa went along with the plan because she was greedy and didn't want to work for a living. They saw my confusion as an opportunity, not a problem to solve with love and care. On the third day, something wonderful happened. My employees at the flower shops started asking questions. Sarah, my store manager, called Lisa to ask about some business decisions. "Your mother always discussed major changes with us first," Sarah said. "These new policies don't sound like something Ruth would approve." Lisa got angry and told Sarah to mind her own business. But Sarah was smart. She started making her own phone calls. Sarah contacted my lawyer, my accountant, and my bank. She told them all the same thing. Something was wrong. Ruth Williams would never make these kinds of decisions without talking to her employees first. Sarah had worked for me for 10 years. She knew how I ran my business, and this wasn't it. The professionals started asking their own questions. Why were all these changes happening so quickly? Why wasn't I attending meetings in person anymore? By the fourth day, Jack had enough evidence to bury Lisa and Tom in legal trouble. But he wanted to catch them in the act of doing something clearly illegal. That opportunity came when they decided to forge my signature on documents to sell one of my flower shops. Jack had cameras recording everything as Tom practiced copying my handwriting, and Lisa coached him on making the signature look real. "Make the R more curvy," Lisa instructed. "Mom always loops her letters when she signs important papers." They were so focused on their crime that they didn't notice Jack installing additional recording equipment. They were like amateur criminals trying to rob a bank while security guards watched them practice. On the fifth day, Jack called me at the cabin with good news. "Mrs. Williams, we have everything we need," he said excitedly. "Documents, recordings, video evidence, witness statements. It's time to spring the trap." The trap was beautiful in its simplicity. Jack had arranged for Lisa and Tom to meet with a potential buyer for one of my flower shops. The buyer was actually an undercover police officer. They would catch Lisa and Tom trying to sell property that didn't belong to them. But I wanted to be there when it happened. I wanted to see their faces when they realized their plan had failed. Jack thought it might be dangerous, but I insisted. This is my life they tried to steal, I told him. I deserve to see justice happen. So we arranged for me to appear at just the right moment, like a ghost coming back to haunt the people who had tried to bury me. The meeting was set for 2 p.m. at my main flower shop. Lisa and Tom arrived early, both dressed nicely and carrying briefcases full of fake documents. They had practiced their story about their poor mother who was too sick to handle business matters anymore. Sarah, my store manager, let them into the shop but gave them suspicious looks. She still didn't trust what was happening. At exactly 2 p.m., the buyer arrived. He was a tall man in a nice suit who looked like he had money to spend. Lisa and Tom shook his hand and started their presentation about why he should buy the flower shop. They showed him financial records, building papers, and business licenses. Everything looked official and legal. The only problem was that none of it was real. "Where is the current owner?" the buyer asked. "I usually like to meet the person I'm buying from. Our mother is unfortunately too ill to attend," Lisa said sadly. "She has dementia and can't handle business decisions anymore. But we have full power of attorney to act on her behalf." The buyer nodded and examined the power of attorney documents. They looked real because Tom had spent a lot of money getting them forged by professionals. That's when I walked through the front door of my own flower shop. Lisa's face went completely white. Tom's mouth fell open like a fish gasping for air. Sarah smiled the biggest smile I had ever seen. "Hello everyone," I said in a strong, clear voice. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything important." The silence in that room was so complete that you could hear dust settling on the flowers. "Mom," Lisa whispered. "How? Where have you been? We've been so worried." Her voice was shaking like a leaf in a windstorm. "Oh, I've been fine, dear," I replied sweetly. "Just taking a little vacation to clear my head. Amazing how much better I feel when I stop taking those pills you've been giving me." Tom tried to run. He actually tried to run away like a scared rabbit. But the buyer was faster. He showed his police badge and told Tom to stop right where he was. "Lisa Williams and Tom Patterson, you're under arrest for elder abuse, fraud, and attempted theft," the officer announced. More police officers came through the back door of the shop. Jack had coordinated everything perfectly. Lisa started crying and begging. "Mom, you don't understand. We were trying to help you. You're sick. You need us to take care of you." But I wasn't sick anymore. I was angry. "Lisa, I heard everything," I said firmly. "I know about the fake pills. I know about Tom's gambling debts. I know about your plan to put me in a nursing home and steal my business." Lisa's tears stopped immediately. Her sad face changed into something ugly and mean. "You old witch," she hissed. "You ruined everything. Tom's creditors are going to hurt him now because of you." "That's his problem, not mine," I replied. Maybe he should have thought about that before trying to steal from his own mother-in-law. Tom was screaming about how unfair everything was as the police put handcuffs on him. He blamed me for not dying sooner so he could inherit money legally. He blamed Lisa for not being a better actress. He blamed everyone except himself for the choices he had made. As they were led away in police cars, Lisa looked back at me one last time. The look on her face was pure hatred. This was not the loving daughter I had raised and spoiled and given everything to. This was a stranger who happened to share my blood. "I'll never forgive you for this," she shouted through the car window. "Good," I shouted back. "I'll never forgive you either." The legal case that followed was like a soap opera, but with real consequences. The evidence Jack had gathered was overwhelming. Video recordings of them forging documents, audio recordings of them planning to steal my assets, and testimony from professionals who had been tricked into helping them. Lisa and Tom's lawyer tried to argue that they were just confused family members trying to help an elderly relative. But the judge wasn't buying it. Judge Martinez had seen cases like this before. She knew the difference between family members who make mistakes and family members who commit crimes. This was a calculated scheme to defraud a vulnerable elderly person, Judge Martinez said during sentencing. The defendant showed no remorse and no concern for the victim's well-being. Lisa received 8 years in prison for elder abuse and fraud. Tom got 10 years because he had been the mastermind behind the fake documents and forged signatures. Dr. Rodriguez lost his medical license for participating in the scheme by prescribing unnecessary medication. The fake lawyer who created the power of attorney documents got 5 years for his part in the crime. But the best part wasn't the prison sentences. The best part was getting my life back. Without the fake pills clouding my mind, I felt 20 years younger. My memory came back completely. My energy returned. I started working at my flower shops again, much to the delight of my employees and customers. Sarah threw me a welcome back party that made me cry happy tears. I also learned some hard truths about family. Blood relation doesn't guarantee loyalty or love. Lisa had been planning to betray me for years, waiting for the right opportunity. She had never cared about me as a person, only as a source of money. That hurt more than all the pills and confusion combined. But I also learned that family can be created, not just born. Sarah, my store manager, was more like a daughter to me than Lisa had ever been. Betty, my old friend, risked her own safety to help me escape. Jack, the private investigator, worked tirelessly to gather evidence and build my case. These people cared about my well-being without expecting anything in return. That's what real family looks like. 6 months after Lisa and Tom were sentenced, I received a letter from Lisa in prison. She wanted money for her commissary account and claimed she had learned her lesson. The letter was full of apologies and promises to be a better daughter if I would just give her another chance. I read the letter once, then threw it in the trash where it belonged. Some people never change. They just get better at pretending they have changed. Lisa was still the same greedy, selfish person who had tried to steal my life. Prison hadn't made her sorry for what she did. It had only made her sorry she got caught. I decided to focus my energy on people who deserved it instead of wasting time on people who didn't. Today, 2 years later, I'm healthier and happier than I've been in years. My flower shops are thriving. I've made new friends and strengthened old friendships. I've learned to be more careful about trusting people. But I haven't let Lisa and Tom's betrayal make me bitter or suspicious of everyone. Most people are good. Some people are not. The trick is learning to tell the difference. I also started a support group for elderly people who have been abused by family members. We meet once a week at the community center to share our stories and help each other heal. Elder abuse is more common than most people realize. Children, grandchildren, and other relatives steal from elderly family members every day. They use love and trust as weapons against the people who raised them. But our support group proves that survival is possible. Recovery is possible. Justice is possible. You don't have to accept abuse just because it comes from family. You don't have to suffer in silence just because you're getting older. Age is not a weakness. Experience is a strength. And sometimes, experience is exactly what you need to outsmart people who think they're smarter than you. The support group has helped 12 families so far. We've helped grandparents escape abusive situations, recovered stolen money, and educated law enforcement about the signs of elder abuse. Every victory feels personal because I remember how helpless and confused I felt when Lisa and Tom were drugging me. No one should have to go through that alone. I've also become an advocate for stronger laws protecting elderly people from financial abuse. I speak at conferences, write articles, and work with legislators to create better safeguards. The laws that existed when Lisa and Tom tried to steal from me were too weak and too easy to work around. We've helped pass new laws that make elder abuse a more serious crime with tougher penalties. Last month, I received an award from the State Attorney General's office for my work in elder abuse prevention. The ceremony was held at the state capitol, and I was surrounded by people who had become my true family. Sarah was there along with Betty, Jack, and members of my support group. These were the people who had stood by me when my biological family tried to destroy me. During my acceptance speech, I talked about the importance of staying alert and fighting back when someone tries to take advantage of you. Growing older doesn't mean growing helpless, I told the audience. Experience is power. Memory is strength. And determination can overcome almost any obstacle. I also talked about the signs of elder abuse that people should watch out for. Sudden changes in an elderly person's behavior or mental state. Family members who isolate their elderly relatives from friends and other family. Unexplained financial transactions or missing money. New people taking control of an elderly person's medical care or legal affairs. Pills that make an elderly person unusually drowsy or confused. These are all red flags that something might be wrong. If you suspect elder abuse, don't ignore it. Contact local authorities, adult protective services, or elder abuse hotlines. One phone call could save someone's life, money, and dignity. I wish someone had been watching out for me during those confusing months when Lisa and Tom were poisoning me. But I'm grateful that I was strong enough to save myself when the time came. The most important lesson I learned from this experience is that it's never too late to fight back. I was 68 years old when I discovered what Lisa and Tom were doing to me. I was confused, scared, and alone. But I didn't give up. I found allies, gathered evidence, and exposed their scheme. It didn't make me weak. It made me wise enough to know when something was wrong. I also learned that disappearing sometimes is the best way to reappear stronger. Those days hiding in Betty's cabin gave me time to think clearly and plan my counterattack. Sometimes you have to step back from a situation to see it clearly. Sometimes you have to leave in order to come back fighting. My flower shops are busier than ever now. Customers tell me they're happy to have the real Ruth back, not the confused, drowsy version Lisa and Tom created with their fake pills. I've hired more employees and opened a 6th location across town. Business is booming because people can tell when someone truly cares about what they're doing. I've also reconnected with old friends who Lisa and Tom had convinced me were too busy to spend time with me. They had isolated me so gradually that I didn't realize what was happening. Now my social calendar is fuller than it's been in years. I go to book clubs, gardening groups, and senior activities. I travel with friends and take classes at the community college. Life after 68 is better than life before 68 because I appreciate everything more now. I don't take my independence for granted. I don't assume that family members have my best interests at heart. I verify things for myself and trust my instincts when something feels wrong. These lessons came at a high price, but they were worth learning. Lisa and Tom are still in prison, and I hope they stay there for the full length of their sentences. They haven't contacted me since that pathetic letter asking for money. Maybe they've finally realized that their victim refuses to be a victim anymore. Or maybe they're planning their next scheme against some other unsuspecting elderly person. Either way, it's not my problem anymore. I focus on positive things now. My businesses, my friends, my support group, and my advocacy work. Life is too short to waste time thinking about people who try to destroy you. It's better to spend time with people who want to build you up. If there's one message I want people to take from my story, it's this. Never underestimate the power of an elderly person who refuses to give up. We have decades of experience dealing with difficult people and challenging situations. We've survived wars, recessions, family crises, and personal losses. We're tougher than we look and smarter than people assume. When someone tries to take advantage of us, they're picking a fight with someone who has nothing left to lose and everything to gain by fighting back. That's a dangerous combination for any criminal, no matter how clever they think they are. Lisa and Tom learned this lesson the hard way, but they learned it thoroughly. The woman they tried to drug into submission became the woman who put them in prison. The mother they tried to rob became the advocate who helps other families avoid the same fate. The victim they created became the victor who refuses to be silent about elder abuse. That transformation didn't happen by accident. It happened because I decided to fight instead of surrender. Today I'm 70 years old, and I feel stronger than I did at 50. My mind is sharp, my body is healthy, and my spirit is unbroken. I run successful businesses, help other abuse survivors, and enjoy a rich social life surrounded by people who genuinely care about me. This is what victory looks like when you refuse to be a victim. So remember, if someone is trying to take advantage of you or someone you love, don't stay silent. Don't accept it as inevitable. Fight back with everything you have. Gather evidence, find allies, and expose the truth. Justice might take time, but it's worth waiting for and working toward. The daughter I raised became my enemy, but the family I chose became my salvation. Blood doesn't make family. Love, loyalty, and respect make family. I learned this lesson late in life, but I learned it completely. Now I'm surrounded by people who prove every day that real family never gives up on each other. And that's the end of my story. A story about betrayal that became a story about triumph. A story about confusion that became a story about clarity. A story about an elderly woman who refused to become a victim and instead became a victor. Thank you for listening to Grandma Stories. Don't forget to subscribe and share your own story in the comments. Remember, every elderly person has a story worth hearing, and every story has the power to help someone else. Your voice matters no matter how old you are. Your experience is valuable, no matter what challenges you've faced. And your story could be exactly what someone else needs to hear to find the courage to fight back against abuse. Keep telling your stories, keep supporting each other, and keep proving that age is just a number. Wisdom and determination have no expiration date.